Hello everyone, my name is Melissa Cancio and I am the Executive Director for ChamberSOUTH, and today we have Dr. Z coming to us from Evolve Family Chiropractic, and we're so excited to just tune in and see what he's all about.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I feel like we've seen a lot of your work throughout Instagram and all your Nike affiliations. I'm pro Nike too, so I completely understand it. But let's get to know you a little bit more, just to kind of see how Dr. Z came to be. Did you know you always wanted to be a doctor?
I did. I always knew that I wanted to do healthcare and that humanitarianism was kind of my niche. But I think figuring out which physician I wanted to be was kind of my journey. And it was actually a chiropractic physician that saved me from my injury. Wow. And it kind of allowed me to pursue it myself.
What was your injury, if you don't?
So I have competitively competed in track and field for a very long time. I started in third grade, and it was my freshman year of high school where I actually tore my hamstring jumping and seeked out physical therapy. Physical therapy was actually what I wanted to be initially, but it was the chiropractor that saved me from my injury, and that kind of allowed me to be a chiropractic physician as a result of that story.
Wow, that's pretty neat. And I feel like a lot of it doesn't really, a lot of it comes from personal stories, but I feel like yours is so neat because you were able to do the sport that you love for so much longer, even after the fact.
Exactly. And I think it was more like psychological and mental for me. So kind of being able to compete at that level again was very, very difficult. But it gave me hope after receiving the care that I did that I can get back out there and perform at that level.
Wow, it's pretty inspirational too, because then there's just so much that goes into it that you've been able to also give back and still continue to do what you love and help people while you're doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why my business model is the way that it is I take care of everyone and anyone, but I take care of you like you were an athlete. So it's very thorough, and everyone is taken care of from top to bottom.
So then what made you start this specific organization? Is it more of a franchise, or is it just this one hub? And then where have you kind of expanded to, or are you looking to expand to other places?
So right now it is more boutique and just small scale, small business. But that's kind of the conversation right now, is where do we want to take it? So kind of expand and just keep it one sole place, or go into the franchise model. But keep it local. Yeah.
A lot of business that goes into it. There's a lot of just moving pieces that can play a part in that.
Exactly. But I think for me, it's more keeping the quality and focusing on that, and not so much quantity, because I want to make sure that I'm giving like optimal care, not half-ass.
What made you choose then the area that you're in now instead of going into a more busy location?
So I grew up here, and Miami-Dade County has been my whole life. Yeah. So I feel like I'm not just doing what I'm doing, but I'm also giving back to mi gente, right? So to give back to my people, to 305, to the MIA, and to be able to work with some of the clients that I do work with, Marlins, right? And a lot of other professional players and Olympic athletes from around the world. It is really nice to have that opportunity, but I also feel like the reason I'm so passionate and why it comes from the heart is because I grew up here. So this is also like my life, my hood, my upbringing, and my place.
Yeah, and then you were able to share the same experience because you went through it and you can relate to the person you're helping.
Exactly. And I think that's like why I'm so passionate when I do take care of people, is I kind of approach it from that exact angle. Is I've been there before. I know what it feels like, and that's exactly how I want them to feel, and to take care of them and bring them back to health.
I know there's a lot that goes into it, and I know going through medical school and all the things. So what does it look like for you in terms of community and bringing those people in? What advice would you give to someone wanting to be in the chiropractic area?
That's a difficult one, because I'm naturally passionate. So I feel like you can't really teach passion. It has to come natural. But I think it's easier if you can relate to the community and you kind of grew up there, and that is your network, your neighborhood. So I feel if you just come from a genuine place and you connect with people at that level, everything else just kind of falls into place.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it, especially in Miami.
Exactly. But since I grew up here, and I know the vibe, I know like how people are, it was easier for me to like make that connect and bridge the gap between business and like people, culture, and Miami lifestyle.
So then how do you explain to someone what chiropractor is, especially well, I know it's since you're from here, it sounds like mi gente, it sounds like you're bilingual.
Yeah.
So how do you explain it in both the English and Spanish realm to make it make sense for everyone?
So I think the easiest way to understand it is think dislocation. And so we are essentially dislocation specialists. So the dislocation can occur anywhere that you have a joint in the human body. And as long as we can relocate that, we can turn off the pain signals. So essentially, you know, if you were going to find us in a niche, it'd probably be under the pain management form of healthcare. And so that's kind of our direction. But the goal is if we can restore the position, then we can eliminate the pain and the compression of the neurological system.
I'm so fascinated by everything you're saying. I'm like, I need to learn more.
Well, and I feel like everyone should want to know more, but it's also preventative healthcare. It's preventative lifestyle. So I feel like my mission, my personal mission is kind of bridging the connect with all of the healthcare facilities in Miami-Dade County, being that this is my community, my home. And my hope is other people will apply that same thinking to their own community and their own neighborhoods. So hopefully, right, I could bridge a connect with like Baptists and other local hospitals and healthcare centers to bring this on board.
So then is that in terms of growth, because you mentioned you wanted to do franchising, is that something that you've been looking at in terms of going into a bigger scale but staying in that local realm?
And that's kind of the conversation right now is like, what do we want to do? Because if I operate by myself and with staff, you can imagine like over time, it's going to be overwhelming for me. So with the franchise model, but still trying to keep the quality, it could work. But it's setting up the business strategies behind the scenes so that it kind of all communicate as one.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I can understand why there's a lot of conversation there. It's a lot of just different ways of thinking that you're kind of forming into one.
Exactly. I think like, you know, because no one ever talks to me about it, but I think the proudest moment for me is because I am young generation. I feel like we come with a whole different passion and a whole different mindset. But I feel that's really good for Miami-Dade County because I'm willing to be the keystone for the new generation and kind of bridging that connecting gap between like the older generation and the newer generation. But hopefully inspire the new generation to know like it's our time and like we're ready to take over. Yeah,
I completely agree. That's with me at the chamber too. I have 17 bosses, which I feel like not everyone can say. And so there's a lot that goes into it because it's the business component, it's the community, and just kind of pulling everything together and making it make sense. So I am with you on that. And so what does it look like for you now that you've been in the community, you've been around town, you know what Miami is about. What do you want for people to know and understand what goes into your practice and how you want to give back to the community in that way?
So I feel like right now I'm kind of seen as my own entity, but in reality, like the dream office would be multidiscipline. And that's the way that I feel healthcare works at its best because it's kind of all services are kind of being rendered together, but at the same time, giving the person an even more enhanced form of health. So I feel right now it's still kind of gappy in the way that I'm in office rendering this service. But if I needed some other service, I can't render it, so I have to refer them out to someone else in the area. I feel like if everything was closer together and more mainstream, then that would definitely simplify the process.
Do you work with a community of doctors, or how do you bounce off ideas to kind of give that tidbit?
So I think that's the difficult part right now because I really have to find someone that I trust and that I work well with in order to refer them to that doctor. But I do have, quite a few doctors that I work with that are specialists in their area. And that's something that I'm really, really open to because I feel very humble in the way that I'm good at what I do, but they're good at what they do. And so it's kind of like passing the torch onto somebody that I trust to go ahead and take over that case.
It's unique because there's just so many. I feel like there's an influx of the types of doctors that we have, but how do you really get connected? So you as a physician really have those friendships that you've been able to kind of make through the years. And it's really helpful to just be like, hey, what do you recommend versus me going out and doing my own research to make that make sense.
Exactly. But I think that's also something you have to kind of acknowledge yourself, right? That it's no longer your case and things have kind of exceeded your level of care. And so now you have to be able to be okay with passing it off. Because I think one of the biggest things I see in healthcare right now, which hopefully we can change, is not just bridging the communication gap that's happening in healthcare, but also making it a fluid transition from one provider to the other in the way that it's no longer a case for you to handle, but for another professional or specialist to take over.
Yeah, someone who knows a little bit more about that space.
Exactly. So I feel the issue that I see right now is a lot of people want to be like the one size fits all and like everything handled by me. And it's almost like a fear to hand off. But the truth is, I learned about many organ systems and many bodily like systems, but my specialty is very, very specific to what I do, and that's my passion. And so if somebody else who knows more in that field, you know, would transition the patient in that direction, it'd just be better for the patient overall, right? Because they'd achieve like next level care.
Yeah. It's more of a servant leader, and you to care about what their needs are and what you can do to help them.
Exactly. And I feel like that's kind of the doctor's job, is know when to walk away and know time and place, right? And if that time and place appears, maybe it's better for them to go see another specialist who, you know, is specific at that healthcare problem.
Do you normally refer people across Miami-Dade, or do you have friends nationwide? How does that look like for...
Luckily for me, the stuff stays within the county. The only way that would be a thing is if I see somebody who's outside of the county, kind of finding somebody outside of the county to take care of them. The other thing too is if I do get a lot of snowbirds or people traveling to see me from outside of the state. So a lot of Cali, a lot of New York now, a lot of Jersey. And it's silly, but a lot of them are coming to the universities here to study. And so when I see them and then they have to fly back home, the biggest question I get is, hey, do you have any providers in that state? And that I think is a difficult situation for me because I don't know the person. I don't know who I'm sending them to. So I kind of have to do the research myself to make sure that they're going to like a facility that works for them.
But it's all about building a network. So
yes, but it's much easier in Miami-Dade County being that I'm here. So I have been able to bridge that network and that connection with a lot of people. I think the biggest issue with me is when they don't want to bridge the connect with me, but not because they're scared of the relationship. It's more that it's foreign and they don't really understand it themselves. So I think that's more the difficult side from my end.
What made you kind of start in terms of, because I feel like there's only a few chiropractic practices, but maybe my numbers are off. How do you kind of gauge what the level of wanting people to enter your space and where you've kind of grown in that aspect? And are you going to keep it as a chiropractic office?
So that's the thing. I think my dream setup is going to be more multidiscipline. I feel like chiropractic physicians and physical therapists and massage therapists work very, very well together. So I'm probably going to go in the more sports medicine direction. Currently, I'm working on my specialty in sports medicine and sports chiropractic care. There's only a few hundred in the world, so that's a really, really big deal for me. I already work with professional athletes and Olympic athletes from all over the world, so I'm honored to have that already. But having that on my resume will definitely take me to a whole different level, right? Because that'll allow me to be in charge of a, NBA team, NFL team, MLB team, NHL team. So I think that's definitely more my passion, being that I come from sports and I've done that my whole life. And so that'll be like a good direction for me. But again, I apply the sports medicine model to everyone from head to toe. And I feel it's the best way to render care because it's not just the chiropractic care, but also the physiotherapy, rehabilitation, and like therapy side.
So then I know you said that you were in track for years to come, but what does it look like in terms of with your family? Were they athletes? Were they doctors? How did you kind of get into this niche that now, like, are they supportive with what you're doing?
Got you. So I'm actually first generation everything in my family. So I think that is more of a personal journey, but I am, first educated.
Huge proud moment.
Yeah, but it's also, and I feel this is more special in Miami-Dade because, it's kind of like that for us here, but I'm also like first generation citizen in my family, first generation American, first generation like college educated. So I've been the first in many things, but I also feel like the fuel and the charcoal that like lights that fire comes from like the motivation to be better than what I was left with and what got me this far. So a lot of proud moments, I think, in my family for getting this far, but it's also kind of looking back at like, you guys brought me so far, so let me kind of take myself a little bit further. And then my hope is for my future is to kind of like have that family legacy kind of move on as well.
Yeah, but I feel like you had a foundation to build off of, and now you can only go up from here, right? So
that's the hope. Yeah. So I'm hoping, right, healthcare facilities and like other healthcare centers and stuff will want to bridge that connect with me as well. And then also make me a part of the team. That's essentially the goal. Is I'm not here to replace anybody, right? There's a time and place for everyone and every specialty. So I think it's more just be accepted as part of the team and be a team member and kind of allow me to be a part of the decision making and render care if need be for Miami-Dade County residents.
Wow, there's so many good things just coming up your way. I'm excited to see what you come up with next. So let's get a little bit more to get to know about you. See how, I know this is more about the personal touch. So are you the type of person who likes to sit in an aisle seat or a window seat in an airplane?
Okay, so I like aisle, but I have flight anxiety. But I think for me, it's really when you get that big drop that I just messes with me mentally. So I'd rather the aisle over the window.
That's interesting. I know.
Plus, it's closer to the food and the drinks. So definitely the aisle.
I mean, my dad's like, it's closer to the bathroom.
Yeah, because the thing with me is I'd rather not look out the window and see what 30,000 feet looks like, so I'd rather the aisle.
That's a pretty interesting gate. Well, closer to the food probably makes more sense to me.
Exactly.
Do you prefer real plants or artificial plants?
I like real, but I just feel...
Do you have a green thumb?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I just feel like it's more real, and I
do not have a green thumb for the life of me.
It's just like it's not for everybody, So for me, I feel like I could tell it's real.
Yeah,
and like it has a very specific beauty that artificial plants can't do. But I think the big thing too is like the aroma, right? Like the artificial, unless you spray it with something artificial, like doesn't give off a smell.
Like I feel those fake Christmas trees with like the spray that comes with it.
So I feel like the real ones, like they contribute in some way, right? And like it smells floral and stuff. So definitely real.
Okay, if you were an animal, would you be a land animal or a sea animal?
Land animal, but my favorite animal is a lion. So
technically land animal.
Land animal, yeah. And then I don't know what it is because people always ask me like, why the lion? But I just feel like I can relate to it when it comes to confidence, like I feel my personality is naturally extroverted and fun and outgoing and like really confident. So a lion is the one that I feel like when it's walking around makes the most sense to like how I am personality wise.
I love that. I love that there's a whole science behind the choosing of it. Okay, last question. Are you a sweet or salty person?
That's a hard one.
You're both.
Because I'm both. But if I had to make a choice, I would say more sweet. So for all my colada lovers, that's my weakness.
I love that.
So definitely sweet over salty.
So coffee versus tea is coffee 100%.
I love coffee. So my thing is colada is my weakness, but obviously when it comes with all the other baked goods, right, and the Cuban lifestyle down here, like I will fail every time. So sweet over salty.
So then in terms of coffee, because now I'm intrigued, do you prefer Starbucks, Dunkin', or local coffee shop?
So I like all of them because I like coffee, right? And so I don't want to make like anybody upset.
So there's no discrimination.
No discrimination, but I do like local. I just feel because like again, quality over quantity.
Do you have a favorite place? Or one of your favorite places?
So the one that you're going to find me at the most is going to be Pinecrest Bakery.
Of course.
And so
I know it's like, dry Cuban.
Well, I love so many places, but you're always going to find me at Pinecrest Bakery. But I feel like there's one right by my office. So it makes a lot of sense for me to just kind of walk over. But also, they're all over. So I know, like, okay, like, where's the closest one to this area? And let me go there. So that's usually where I'll get my colada fix /
every day
pastelito and tequeño and all of that stuff. So that's like a happy place for me. Got it.
I feel like asking that question is just so different because you never know which way it's gonna go. But Pinecrest Bakery, you're a true Hispanic, born and raised, and you're good to go.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Is there anything else that maybe I missed or something that you'd like to share?
Well, I do want to thank, the Miami newspaper, community newspaper, as well as Grant Miller, Thank you for all your love and support. And thank you, obviously, Melissa. So thank you so much. Because obviously, without you guys, this couldn't have happened. So thank you guys to ChamberSOUTH. I'm also a member of Gable's Chamber, so thank you guys as well. And just thank you to so many people, for making this happen.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you so much, everyone. You heard it from Dr. Z himself, a true Miamian, and he'll be around town setting goals and setting places for higher areas. So thank you so much for being here, ChamberSOUTH Spotlight. We have our next one coming in, and we're so excited to have you a part of it.